Now, normally this would be the part where I go to the randomizer to see what else there is, to see what's next to watch. But we've only got 4 shows here. 2 of them are stuff that, to be honest, I'm probably going to drop. This one's a Cool Kill show, so I might not, but we'll see. We got 2 shows that I'm probably going to drop. Then a Pokemon movie, and then Maid Dragon. And I think that's just the best order to do this in, so we're just going to do it in order from now on. So up next, we have Boy Riverside. Let's do it. Alright, I just saw the first episode of Boy Riverside, and I think that's about enough. This was the 3rd show from Cool-Kyo Sinja that he did this season. He actually did the story for the manga for this, and he had another artist attached as the illustrator. Though his designs definitely still show up. We got a big titty female character. But the script for this show was fucking all over the place, and I constantly felt like I was being left in the dust, and it just was moving on without me. This is a really poorly written show. It's just not, it's not trying to put a hook in you. It's just throwing shit at you. And it's just not great writing. Like, there's some interesting, I don't even know if there's interesting ideas in it, because it's just throwing so much shit at you that you can't really tell. Also, apparently this is riffing off the Momotaro myth, which makes sense since it's called Boy Riverside. But it's such a fucking bizarre riff on the concept that I don't know what to make of it. This is bad. The only reason I would come back to this is if for a particular video idea that I might want to make, but we'll see if that goes anywhere. So let's move on to the next one. Alright, we can take Peach Boy off the list. Next is Battle Game in 5 seconds. No clue what this is, but let's go for it. Okay, so weird, very weird thought on this one, but there is a specific shade and gradient of brown hair color on a main character in an anime that immediately tells me, A, this show is going to look like shit, and B, it's going to be edgy as fuck. As soon as that really dark, oversaturated brown hair showed up on this main character, I was like, oh, I know exactly what kind of show this is. Tell me if you have had the same experience in the comments. Like, if you can tell how edgy an anime is just by how saturated the hues of a character's hair are. Yeah, this one's fucking garbage. What really threw me, though, was, like, it presents it as though this main character is just experiencing this thing for the first time, this battle game shit with a monster that showed up out of nowhere. But then he immediately goes full-on fucking MacGyver and creates a fucking pulley system that drops a water tower on him, or a water storage thing on him. And then there's some really bad blood effects, and then the red skies from the Mirai Nikki OP showed up, and that made me laugh really hard. This one's garbage, so let's move on. Okay, we can get rid of you. We're really narrowing it down now. We just got a movie and a TV series left. So up next is Pokemon Coco. This is the new Pokemon movie that came out. It was supposed to come out in summer of last year, but then COVID happened, so it got pushed back to Christmas, and now it's finally coming out here stateside. So let's watch some Pokemon, boys. Let's do it. Alright, I just watched the new Pokemon movie, Pokemon Coco, or I believe the English title is Pokemon Secret of the Jungle, and that was pretty good. As expected, the Pokemon movies have been on a really solid roll lately, with the exception of that stupid, awful Mewtwo reboot. I have a video on that, but If you're unfamiliar with my channel as a whole, I like Pokemon quite a lot. One could say that I am a pretty big Pokemon fan. In fact, what caused the demise of my original channel via copyright takedowns was back in February of 2018, I did a review of every single Pokemon movie for the entire month. So I am definitely familiar with Pokemon movies. I would consider that my strong suit in terms of anime knowledge. Pokemon in general, but especially the movies. And I would say this is definitely one of the better ones. It's continuing a trend of what I've noticed from a past, from starting with probably the I Choose You movie, where it takes bits and pieces of old ideas from older movies or older Pokemon properties and readapts them or reinterprets them with a new story. So like Pokemon I Choose You, the intro of it like readapts the first episode of the Pokemon anime, and then it goes on its own story from there. Also has a little bit of Entei stuff in it. Power of Us, or Minna no Monogatari. That one had Lugia as the mascot, and of course the English title Power of Us being a reference to Power of One. And had some other stuff in it as well. And this one actually combines two elements that have been previously used in Pokemon films. The more obvious one is that it references Pokemon Forever, with its reference to Celebi and just having a jungle setting and having like a voice, like a power of the forest type thing. Funnily enough, when I was younger, I really loved Pokemon Forever. I watched it like a shit ton, and then when I went back to it for Pokemon Movie Month, as I mentioned before, I actually didn't like it at all. I thought it was quite bad, but it definitely didn't take the bad parts of Pokemon Forever. And the other one, deep cut in terms of Pokemon franchise, is it also has a reference to Mewtwo Returns, which is a TV movie. I think it was like a New Year's special or something. If you haven't seen that, I would definitely recommend it. It's pretty good. And the reference there is that there's like a spring that has healing or restorative properties, and there's the question of, well, in the Mewtwo Returns special, the question is whether humans should have access to this lake because they will pollute it or run it dry and such. And there's a vaguely similar idea in Coco, but it also takes that in a different direction, with that being that the idea of this is the Pokemon's, well, yeah, I guess it's kind of the same idea. This is the Pokemon's natural environment. Humans need to be extra cautious when observing it or taking from it, which the main villain of this film does not do well. I actually kind of want to keep this one a little very light on spoilers, because I actually do want to, well, fuck it, I'll just discuss it. Let's put it this way, I would highly recommend you watch this movie if you are a Pokemon fan. Would definitely recommend it. This one's at least in my top 10 Pokemon films. That's not a huge feat. I don't know if it would be top 5, I would have to go to the list, but it's definitely in my top 10. So yeah, definitely go watch this. I'm gonna spoil the shit out of it now. So turns out that the lead scientist of this research group that's looking into looking for this kind of healing tree, which is where the healing spring comes from, turns out to be several levels of fucking awful. This is easily the most blatantly evil villain in a Pokemon movie. Like, Giovanni obviously is like, he's in Mewtwo Returns, and a very minor villain in Mewtwo Strikes Back. Giovanni obviously Crime Boss, really bad. There's been a lot of other villains that are like comically evil. The villain in this movie has killed people. Like, legitimately, on screen, killed people. Like, I saw that and I'm like, holy shit, they really fucking went there, huh? Okay, then. Wow, alright. So... And he is also, like, my one major critique of this movie is he goes 0 to 100 real fucking quick. Now, granted, a lot of this is, like, divided up between, like, backstory and present day, but they go from him... I wish there was more of a ramping up period from him just being the head of a research project to fuck everyone, I'm gonna get what I want. And his motivations definitely make sense. Like, he is not a flat character. He's got some very obvious motivations that make sense and make him more realistic. It's just that ramping up period was a little sudden. So I wish we had gotten a little bit more of that ramp up. But I guess they were going for the twist reveal instead of the slow I would have preferred the gradual build up instead of like a twist reveal, which is what they did. Not much of a twist, unless you're a kid, in which case I could see this being a twist. And it definitely plays into the idea of humans taking from nature without considering the ramifications on the ecosystem. And I also like how they, at the end, they tied this back into the pack of Zarud? Zarud? In the Japanese, it's Zarudo. Yeah, I watched this in Japanese, by the way. I haven't watched Pokemon in English since they changed the dub. But the monkey Pokemon, Zarudo. That's what I'm going to pronounce it as, because that's what it's pronounced in this film. The pack of Zarudo, they kind of realize at the end, like, they're basically like these big bullies of the forest, and they steal food from other Pokemon, and they claim territory, and don't let anyone else in that territory. So they kind of realize at the end that they were just acting like shitty humans, which I think is an interesting concept. Because, like, if we go way back to early Pokemon anime, they say Pokemon aren't good or bad. They're just a reflection of the environment that they're brought up in. And so when this kind of I like this idea that they have grown into just this own force, that they have separated themselves from the other Pokemon and sort of lorded over them. So a reflection of humanity as it is. And like this movie really goes into like Pokemon and humans are not that different. We are all part of the same ecosystem, and once again, the harmony between Pokemons and humans is very much a core aspect of this film, as is family. Because in this movie, Coco, the Tarzan-looking kid in the promo art, is like a, I mean, it's Tarzan. He's set adrift as a baby, lost in the forest, and the Zarudo raises him as his son. And they do some pretty cool, interesting ideas with this. There's actually not, at least in terms of Pokemon movies, there hasn't been a lot of like core family elements. There's been like friendship elements and like Pokemon and human ties elements, but not so much family. Like Pokemon Heroes has it a little bit. I can't really think of anything else. Yeah. Pokemon 3, I guess, Spell of the Unknown had that a little bit too. But this one really dives into the relationship between Coco and his parent, Zarudo, and the bond that they have, the fights that they get into, how Coco grows into his own at the end, how Zarudo reflects on how good a parent he was. That was a really good, interesting element that they added to this, and I thought it was executed really well. And it leads to some really interesting growth on Coco's part at the end. I will say that near the end, I thought the climax happened a little too soon. Like, there's, like, the climax happens, and then there's still, like, 15 minutes left of the movie. But they do fill that resolution part with some pretty interesting stuff for Coco, for Zarudo. Really interesting character growth at the end. So, if you reach that climax and you're like, wait, there's still 15 minutes left of this, what the heck? Don't worry, there's some interesting stuff in it. And once again, Ash is taking a back seat in this film. He's just a catalyst for other things to happen, but he is definitely still Ash. He is still that fun, Pokemon-loving, inquisitive, wild boy that we know and love. So yeah. Just really enjoyed the general narrative and characterization of this film. Team Rocket in this film really kind of blew me away too. Like, they're just totally off on their own. Like, they don't... That is sort of what happens in these movies generally, but it's really like Pikachu is totally incidental to them in this film. They are much more interested in, like, stealing data from this research group, and Ash and Pikachu just so happen to be there as well. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say narratively, I think. Yeah, it was good. And then, if you've seen any of the clips from this film or any of the trailers, this is once again, a really solid looking film. I don't know if Wit was part of the production for this one as well, as they were with Power of Us. But they are definitely in this. It's definitely in the same vein of character designs as Power of Us, the ones that Shizue Kaneko came up with. Although I don't think she was actually a character designer for this film. I think they just based their character designs off of that one. That really pretty looking Ash. Definitely fit the aesthetic of this movie really well. There's a real, much like Power of Us, there's some really solid action scenes in this movie. It's just a really pretty movie. And it's also got some really great background art and still shots. Like, the opening scene of this before anything, like, really animated happens is just it's a couple still shots, some really beautiful still shots of nature, like, to play into the idea of how important nature is in this film. And, just a really gorgeous film. There's a lot of songs in this one too. Like, on the insert song end, there's a lot of songs, and I think they're all generally pretty solid. They go over some montages and over some strong emotional moments. I think they're all really well. And there's also a song that the Zarudo sing. Like, it's kind of like a chant kind of thing, and that opens the movie basically, and it sets a really cool tone for what's going on. I really liked this movie. Just an all-around fun time. I think No, I don't... I was going to say the stakes could have been a little higher, but I don't think they necessarily had to be. This is not a... With the exception of one thing in it, there's not a lot of stakes in this. Oh. Probably the most what I could see as being the most, like, people point to this as being a negative aspect of this movie is, at one point during the climax, Coco basically uses a Pokemon move, basically. Now, narratively, it doesn't make any sense. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't make any sense. There are some really convoluted ways you could justify it, but narratively it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Thematically, though, it's fucking brilliant, because Coco, by the end, is basically... throughout the movie, but definitely by the end of the film, he is the bridge between humans and Pokemon, and by the end, he wants to further strengthen that bond. And so having him use a Pokemon move as someone who is raised as he was basically raised as a Pokemon. So I'm sure there's some convoluted reason you could come up with, but it's an interesting thematic bridge, even if it doesn't work all that well thematically. Or it's an interesting thematic bridge if it doesn't work, even though it doesn't work well narratively. So yeah, that's Pokemon Coco. Had a grand old time. It's been so long since I've seen, because I haven't been watching Pokemon Journeys. I'm waiting for it to be almost over so I can binge it. Although I might binge it soon. It's probably coming up. I think it's in like the 70s or 80s of episodes now, so I think now would be a good time to start binging it, if I had time to binge it, that is. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Ash and anything, so I had a good old time. This was fun. So, we're done here, so let's go back to the list. Alright, Pokemon Coco is done. We're going to put it... I'm still wishy-washy. We're going to put it right here. Top 15 for the year. And we're going to give it a light 8. And while we're here, let's go to the Pokemon or movie rankings list. This is my list for all of the Pokemon movies thus far. As you can see, I have my controversial pick of Pokemon I Choose You right at the top here. And we're going to put Pokemon Coco right here. Give that a light 8. So yeah, top 5. I don't know if I might be shifting my score bracket down a bit number-wise, because I'm not sure if an 8 is really indicative of it, because I've given a lot of 8s this season. I have over 28s this season, so I think I might need to shift that down a bit, but that'll be for another time. In any case, one show left. I saved it for last because I imagine it's going to be really good. I hope I don't regret that decision. Let's get into it. Let's watch Maid Dragon S. Alright, just finished all of Dragon Maid S, and as expected, that was really good. Yeah, it's fucking Dragon Maid. Of course it's good. Of course, I believe this is the first TV work from KyoAni post Arson Attack. And boy did they come out swinging. This was definitely something. And I believe at least a couple of these episodes still use the storyboards from the late director, Yasuhiro Takemoto. So seeing some of those marks of his style still on this show was very touching in a way. But I believe Tatsuya Ishihara took over this project. He's like one of the more spastic comedy directors at KyoAni. He did Chunibyo, some of the key stuff, I think. So his influence is definitely in this as well. So I'm not entirely sure whose style I prefer. I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Takemoto's just because it's a little bit calmer. Especially the first episode. There's definitely... the editing is a little too quick-paced for my liking, but I also love Tatsuya Ishihara in general. I hope I'm saying his name right, otherwise I'm going to look like a fucking idiot. Like, Clan Ads in my top 10. Love Chunibyo. I believe he did Nichijou as well, but I'm not sure. Generally love his work, and he did a fantastic job with this as well. There's also a couple interesting thematic structural differences, I should say, in between these first two seasons. At least, now, it's been a little while since I've seen Season 1, but from what I remember of Season 1, like, both of these are, like, comedic slice-of-life stories, but with Season 1, a lot of the focus was on the smaller, littler, like, the little moments that come together to create a bigger picture. And those little moments are still there in season 2, but we also get a lot more big moments as well. Like we get all of Ilulu's backstory in the first 2 episodes, our new character with the big titties. We get the backstory of Toru and Elma. We hear about how Toru got injured and came to the human world in the first place. So it has a lot more of these big, grandiose moments than season 1 did. And I think I wouldn't say it's necessarily a shift in style, but more just an evolution of the style that season 1 had. Like, now that we've spent so much time on these little moments to really endear us to these characters, now we can take, now that we have this, now that we have, like, the base character personality and we understand how nuanced they are, now we can start to peel back the layers and see what's at the core of some of these characters. And most of the time it really pays off. Toru and Elma's story in particular, that takes place over like 5 episodes, leading to possibly the best fight scene of the season in episode 9 from any anime this season. I think the only thing that might beat it is Itaten Deities, if I'm being honest. Because nothing else is coming to mind in terms of fight scenes. But yeah. But this whole build up of Toru and Elma's very kind of turbulent friendship over centuries was just really fascinating. Quite honestly, by the end of season 1, I really didn't care about Elma at all. She just seemed like a side character that was just there. Like, she was fine, but I was not endeared to her in the same way I was with Toru and Kana and such. But she was a huge standout character in this season. Absolutely loved her. This clashing over their ideals on how they should view humanity and how they should interact with the human world was a really cool thematic driving force throughout a lot of this season. And generally it's just it's still really fun and really exciting and just a great variety slice of life comedy. It's fucking fun. Absolutely gorgeous. This show has not dropped off in animation quality at all. It's KyoAni, so that's to be expected. But man, some of these, they really outdid themselves, especially with water physics specifically. Like, a lot of water physics really stood out in these episodes. Just really goddamn pretty. Gorgeous background art, super fluid character animation, great color design and art direction. Just, this is easily one of the best looking shows of the year, if not the best looking show. It's just fantastic. The music also is a bit more pronounced this season as well. Like, it has a lot of the same tracks from season 1 that are pretty, have that more slice of life zaniness to it and just the more quiet Iyashike kind of feel at times. But it also has some tracks that have these big orchestral swells in them to really sell some of the big emotional moments. And I think that worked really well. I do have a couple complaints. Really only 2 specific ones that come to mind. First is, I think Ilulu's transition from antagonist to part of the main crew was a little bit fast. I was hoping for maybe like a 3-episode arc with her, but it was, only 2 episodes. I'm not saying it was bad by any stretch, but I would have liked a little bit more of a prolonged getting to know her period before she starts living with Kobayashi and Toru and Kana and such. But I really liked her character overall. I thought she was a great addition to the cast. She's got kind of a mischievous side, but she's also trying to rediscover the childhood that she didn't get to experience because of the hierarchy of the dragon world. She's good. I like her. The other complaint I have, which is one that I'm not nearly as hard on as a lot of other people were this season, is the first half of episode 2. So in this one, so Ilulu thinks that Kobayashi is only letting Toru live with her because she's lusting after Toru or something. So Ilulu turns Kobayashi into a man, gives her a penis, and tries to get her to fuck Toru. And comedy ensues from there. Now, there were a lot of talks about how this was a bit of a yikes thing. Quite honestly, the thing that bothered me, the only thing that really bothered me about this scene was this little subplot was that the idea that because Kobayashi now has a penis, that she is suddenly sexually attracted to Toru, which they do specify. We get the inner monologue from Kobayashi that she is now turned on by Toru, which I don't think that's how that works. If you're into girls, you're into girls. And if you're into guys, you're into guys. So the gag, on a sexual level, the gag doesn't really work, in my opinion. I don't think it's the most awful thing in the world, but I just think it didn't work as intended. And it's also not that long. It's less than half of the episode. So it's barely there at all. There were a lot of very extreme overreactions to this subplot when this episode dropped. And surprisingly, I actually knew that this would happen because I knew this subplot was coming because I had seen a video from a now debunked, I don't know if the channel's still around. I think the name was Zedrun, Xedrum, M or N, I don't remember. And he did a video on Dragon Maid. He did not like Dragon Maid, and he used this chapter from the manga as part of his argument. It wasn't a good video, if I'm being honest, but that's how I knew that this scene was coming, because he specifically mentions this chapter by name, by what it's about from the manga. So I knew this was coming, so I wasn't super thrown off by it. Again, definitely could have been better. There is definitely something not great about it, but was it horrible? No, it wasn't. It was just not that good. Just a very slight misstep. And just a lot of overreaction to it. God, I'm trying to... Is there anything else I want to say? I don't think so. I mean, it's fucking Dragon Maid. It's one of the best things that KyoAni has made this in the past 10 years. Which is saying a lot, because KyoAni has made a lot of great things in the past 10 years. It's just really good. It's a combination of so many interesting and creative talents and ideas coming together to create this really funny, really wholesome and just really enjoyable comedy slice of life show. And I'm really happy, really grateful that KyoAni is getting back into the groove of things. So that's it for Dragon Maid. Let's go back to the list. Alright, we've finally reached the end of the summer list. And we're gonna put this one pretty close to the top. We're gonna put it a little bit above. We're gonna put it above Heaven's Feel. And we're gonna give that a light 9. I think I definitely need to rescore some stuff, because that means I already have 5 favorites from this year. Which tracks? Because 2 of them are movies and 3 of them are TV series, and only one of them is a new thing. But yeah, that's the list. I cannot believe I've already seen 43 shows from this year, and we still have fall left. So much stuff left. Speaking of stuff that's left, guess I could go through this stuff now. Oh yeah, Higurashi finished, so I do have to watch that. I have to watch the original series though. So I'll get back to this eventually, but until then, my name's Ember, and I'll see you next time.